Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win. Good May the 1st to you. Welcome to Room 442. James Sharman, Sarah Peraria, Mikey Singh here with you. What a weekend it was. What an April it was, actually, for football. May's got a lot to live up to at this point. It's headlines. Time now to look at some of the bigger stories from the weekend. Sarah's got no voice, by the way. We'll try and get through this segment with her. But let's get right to it, Mikey. You've chosen one to poke the bear, so to speak, actually. Has Lionel Messi missed his chance to play in the Premier League? Do tell.
Yeah, I'm not poking any bears. I'm just relaying what Forbes is doing, poking a little bear. So essentially what the article is saying is that in 2022,
That's last year.
Did I say that right? 2022?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Am I saying the day right now? Lionel Messi had his opportunity to go to the Premier League, right? If you guys can recall, before PSG sort of swooped in, Manchester City were the favorites to land Lionel Messi. And he was going to go there, reunite with Pep Guardiola, and have a fantastic Premier League career.
2021.
Beginning at 2022 or
21-22 season. That's where you're getting.
Anyways,
we get your point.
We get the point. So now there's question marks, at least from Forbes, about whether or not Lionel Messi not playing in the Premier League tarnish his career whatsoever, because the Premier League is considered to be the toughest league in the world, and he's yet to prove that he can do it week in, week out in the Premier League.
Who's saying that?
I'm just really, don't shoot the messenger.
I mean, the facts are he hasn't proven it because he hasn't played in it. What are your thoughts?
I would have loved to see Lionel Messi play in the Premier League, but I still think he's going to be considered the greatest player of all time. But again, I would have loved to see it. What club do you guys think Lionel Messi would have?
Oh, he's a Liverpool player for sure.
If he had to move today, Lionel Messi's moving to the Premier League. What club would you like to see him?
What's the best fit for him?
What's the best fit for him?
Or best fit? Well, Pep knows him better than anyone in world football. Pep would find a way to him and Haaland.
He'd move people around.
But there's a lot of players on Man City, though.
Well, I think
would
get the bench.
Cement them, though. He'd get them out, don't you think?
Messi playing behind Haaland. Come on.
It's sick.
it's sick.
There'd be like 40 assists.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
What about Arsenal?
Yeah, it'd be a nice fit there as well, actually. I mean, listen, he's going to fit anywhere, isn't he? Let's be honest. But Arsenal makes a lot of sense. Although, on the right-hand side, you got Saka.
Yeah.
Pretty
but he
good
can
right
play
now.
through the middle, too,
He can,
right?
yeah. He can play.
So Odegaard's there, though. United?
I knew that was coming at some point.
United?
But yeah, that makes complete sense as well. Any top team. You put him in Southampton, they're not being relegated. Maybe that's the best fit.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can really do.
Are we sure he would be relegated?
I'm saying that they wouldn't be relegated with
Messi
Lionel.
and James Ward-Prowse linking up. I think that's something
That'd be pretty decent,
everybody needed to see.
Do you think it's... I mean, so far as it being tarnished, I mean, no. I mean, did Pele play in the Premier League? Did Maradona play in the Premier League? Did Zidane?
Europe? Like,
yeah, right,
come
precisely.
on.
Zidane. There's pretty good players who never played in the Premier League who have no tarnish on their reputation. So, I mean, the British media are atrocious and they think that it's not there, it's nothing. But that's nonsense.
You know who did play in the Premier League? Sorry. Ronaldo.
Yep.
That's where it comes from, right?
Yep, of course.
Yeah, I guess so. How's Saudi Arabia going, though? At least Messi won a World Cup during his time at PSG, so even though he wasn't necessarily playing in the top league, he still did it with his country, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people are just stirring the pot.
Sorry, could you speak up?
Yeah, you can't hear you.
Sorry.
Can't hear you. Sarah was in Miami this weekend, everyone. Miami.
Sell Lionel Messi to Inter Miami. That's why
Yeah,
she
she's
lost
working
her
the deal
voice.
there. But the voice might not be what it should be. But she had a good time this weekend.
That's it.
On that, then it's your turn.
Yeah.
Sarah, what do you have here? You have Erling Haaland, Manchester City striker, chasing Dixie Dean record after 50th goal of the season.
We talk about this guy week in and week out, but it is really incredible what he's doing. I think we're just getting accustomed to it. Oh, Haaland scored again. Shock. But, it really is incredible what he's doing. 50 goals. And the season's not done. And I think it was you saying this actually last week that City have one of the easier schedules. Yeah. So we're probably going to see several more Erling Haaland goals. They're still in the Champions League as well. FA Cup final. I mean, it's really outstanding.
So here's the thing. So 50 top flight goals, 34 in the league, which is equaling the record in the modern era. Dixie Dean of Chelsea fame scored 63 63 goals, I think it was, in the 30s. Is it unfair to discount that because it was so many years ago? Has it got to be the modern era? I think it's unfair. A record's a record. And sure, the game was different back in the 30s and 40s than it is in the 2020s. I understand that, right? But there's still a record. So until he reaches that, he hasn't got the record.
But is that out of the question? So he's scored 18 goals in his last 12 matches.
No, it's not out of the question.
City, he's at 50 now, you said?
Yeah.
City have, I believe, 6 or 7 Premier League matches remaining, and then they had the cup final.
Dixie
And
Dean,
they
though, I think
have
was
Champions
top
League.
flight, the league, though. It wasn't cups. So he's got
That's-
34. Yeah,
That- no.
I believe that's what it is.
63 goals?
Yeah, different-
domestic goals?
Pretty sure. Maybe it was including
Alright,
cups.
shout out
But
Dixie
with cups,
Dean.
there was one
Dixie
cup.
Dean, man.
There may have been the FA Cup, and then there was First Division.
But they must have been playing a lot more matches.
We should have done some research before we started this segment.
They must have been, right? Because remember, a couple weeks back, Holland broke Salah's record for 38 game seasons. They must have been playing way more matches.
Perhaps. Regardless.
You were living in that era.
Yeah, well,
Oh my
but my
goodness.
memory's not that great. I was pretty young in the 30s.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. What we're saying, we take these players for granted, right? What he's doing is we haven't seen before in the Premier League. He is the full, all-combustible centre forward.
Greatest Premier League striker of all time.
Greatest season of all time.
Yeah, greatest individual.
I want to see it for a few years before you say the greatest
the
striker of all
consistency
time.
is so important.
He'll get
Is
there.
it?
He'll get there.
Like this
Thierry
one,
Henry was magnificent.
If you had to choose one season of somebody, it's Erling Haaland 1 year. I know Thierry Henry is absolutely unbelievable. Throw Wayne Rooney into that
Shearer.
mix, Alan Shearer, Harry Kane even.
I think
Erling
you
Haaland's the
need to
best.
see consistency.
Robin Van
though.
Persie, shout out.
You need to see consistency though in the Premier League because so many players we see come in, have a fantastic season, and then they either get injured, they can't get bounce back. So I mean, if you look at Holland, like his physique, he looks like he'll be able to
Yeah, he does.
tolerate it. But I do
Yeah.
want to see it happen. For a
So
couple more
hypothetically, if
seasons.
Holland left the Premier League this year, and let's say he got a lucrative offer, joins Real Madrid in the offseason,
Arabia.
PSG, Saudi Arabia, he's not considered one of the greatest Premier League strikers of all time?
No, I think it has to be one of the greatest seasons of all time. You must do more than 1 year.
The greatest season then.
Yeah,
of
that's
all
fine.
time.
I'm
Premier
fine
League
with that.
season.
Because how can you? What for a striker? What's the greatest season? How many goals you score?
Yeah.
He's going to beat both Shearer and Cole probably next week, probably this week, right? Dixie Dean.
Dixie
I'm going to hang on that Dixie Dean train. I don't care how many games they played. It's still 61 goals or 60, whatever it was.
63.
3, yeah?
Right.
It's incredible, right? In an era where you'd have your leg broken as a centre forward, right? You were a target. These were elbows. There's no VAR back in the 30s.
Yeah, the pitches were
Right?
also tragic.
Awful, right?
Like, you're rolling your ankle.
The ball was like this leather-bound wet
Yeah.
rag, right? The boots are made out of like a cow's ass, right? Which like most boots are nowadays. But you know what I'm saying, right? You get wet, they get heavy, get sodden. So, shout out Dixie Dean.
Yeah, shout out Dixie Dean.
Perfect.
All right, moving on. Here's mine. All right, so Jurgen Klopp in line for double FA punishment after Liverpool's chaotic Tottenham win. All right, this is crazy. So he get a yellow card. He's been taking on Paul Turney, the referee, for a while now. Now, first of all, I want to show what he got the yellow card for. So roll the video here. This is him after the Jota goal in the 99th minute, whatever it was, in the fourth official's face, and then he blows his hamstring. It's one of the greatest football videos I've ever seen. It's too much. He got a yellow card, rightly so, for getting in the fourth official's face, and then the hamstring injury. So we'll get to that shortly. But let's now play the clip of him post-match taking on referee Paul Turney.
Our history with Mr. Tierney, I really don't know what this man has with us. I really don't know.
Did your frustration build then throughout the
He
game?
always will say there's nothing, and it's not true. Cannot be. I have to say it cannot be. I don't understand that. I'm really not sure if it's me because how he looks at me, I don't understand it. I've really no problem with any people, and not with him as well. But it's just like, again. He was ref at Tottenham when Harry Kane didn't get a red card. It's like, and Harry Kane, I love this player. What a player, crazy. I don't want him to get a red card, but it was a red card in that game. It was Mr. Tierney, and nobody asked him about it because in England don't have to clarify situations. So it's really tricky. It's difficult to understand. And my celebration towards the fourth official, I didn't say any bad words, nothing, but was unnecessary. I got punished for that immediately. I pulled my hamstring or adductor or whatever, so fine, that's fair. But what he said to me then when he gave me the yellow card,
Go on.
No, it's not possible. It's absolutely not possible. But it's not okay as well.
What did Paul Tierney say to Jurgen Klopp? I wonder.
Well, apparently all officials are mic'd up for the duration of the game, and it was reviewed, and they've come out and disputed that Tierney said anything that was unprofessional. No, the first thing that popped in my head, I know it's a different sport, but over the weekend there was like a hot mic situation with NHL referees, and you can hear them swearing at players and like talking them like they're actual, like the referees are players, like they're chirping each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder how bad it has to be in soccer for it to cross that line.
You speak to former players in the Premier League, they say there's always banter between the referees and the players. They know each other. Klopp's overreacting there. I'm sorry, he really is. Last week he was saying how he's really happy that Moyes wasn't fired because he doesn't want to be the oldest manager in the Premier League. If David Moyes is fired, it'd be Jurgen Klopp the oldest. Well, you're old enough, be mature, all right? Calm down a little bit. Take a breath before you start speaking to the media. What I found so galling about that comment was he didn't mention Diego Jota, who scored the winning goal, who should have been sent off for a blatant high boot on Oliver Skip.
Yeah.
Right, so it goes both ways, Jurgen. Right, I love Jurgen Klopp, one of the greatest managers I've ever seen. Right, a legend at Anfield. Love him, great personality, great in front of the cameras, but he goes too far. He gets too emotional sometimes.
I think this was my biggest takeaway from this entire situation, though, was Jota scores the winner for your team. This was a heated match in general. And your first reaction is to go to the fourth official instead of your team. Yeah. Your players on your bench, your assistant coach. Like, who cares? That's a slap in the face enough to this guy that your team won and now you're super happy. Like
the anger is overpowering the joy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a healthy place to be in mentally.
No, but
right?
he doesn't look healthy this season. He looks like he's been through a lot.
He has been through a lot, I think.
Jurgen Klopp's always a wild card, though. Yeah. Right? You never know what exactly he's thinking. It's almost like he's a mad scientist because whatever he does on the field, except the exception of the majority of this year, works. And whatever he says to his players, while it might not be conventional at times, it works. So maybe that's just his way of thinking here. I don't know. I agree with you. I think he's overreacting, and I think he's making something out of nothing.
But can we all agree that the hamstring pull was
God.
box office? Can you play that again, Ellie?
That was all
Can we do that again? You know, I love it's called like Schadenfreude, right? You know, you're in the fourth official's face. Have that, you piece of you know what, and then there it is. This football god's giving you a hammy there.
Just buckles, absolutely buckles.
You blew a tire.
Did you hear what Ryan Mason had to say after the match as well? Tottenham were the better side by a country mile. Not too
what
sure.
What country are you talking about here?
Yeah, take away the first 20 minutes of the game. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm thinking. You can't.
It reminded me of a Conte performance in that, you know, first half they didn't show up, they were pathetic, and then they showed up a little bit more in the second half, and in the end they just came up too short. And now the Reds like leapfrogged them in the standings. This is Spurs, who was battling for fourth place for most of the season. What a campaign for Spurs! What a match though. Yeah. Right? People say, you can see a great 0-0. Don't mind a good draw, and that's true. There can be a great 0-0, but there's nothing like this kind of match. A 7-goal thriller. Yeah. Brilliant. What was a great weekend for Premier League football.
Richarlison finally got off the score sheet. First Premier League goal this year.
Yeah.
Only for it to be spoiled.
He thought he won it too. That was the best. Shirt off in front of the crowd, and then Jota says, I don't think so.
Well, Klopp was upset. There's a foul apparently in the build-up to that play, which upset Klopp as well.
I mean, with matches like this, though, I think there were red cards potentially not given to both teams here, and it's just one of those. Like
Klopp is going to get a ban or a fine, double fine for this, probably for the on-the-field issue, and then what he said post-match as well. You can't call that referees by name post-game. You just can't do it, right? Whether it's right or wrong, you can't do it. So it's going to be a fun, month or so left in the season. It's going to be a lot of fun coming up. That's superb. I mean, I've done that actually hosting the show before. I've done a hamstring, but I don't let my opponents know that I'm hurt.
Are we your opponents?
Yes. It's Room 442. We'll see you later. Bye. Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.